Do not scroll past this lightly. Because this is not about a billionaire's money. It is about a revelation. Archangel Michael speaks with steady authority. The confession is not about wealth. It is about awareness. Imagine this. A billionaire sits alone at night. Not in a crowd. Not in celebration. Alone. And for the first time, success feels heavy. Because wealth without purpose becomes weight. In that quiet moment, they reflect. Not on profit. But on impact. Not on numbers. But on meaning. And they realize something most never admit. Money without alignment does not fulfill. Power without responsibility empties. Influence without intention fades. The vision. In the stillness, clarity arrives. Not about transferring money. Not about contracts. About perspective. The billionaire sees struggle differently. They see discipline where others saw failure. They see resilience where others saw delay. They see potential where others overlooked value. Michael declares. True wealth recognizes hidden strength. And the confession is this. The greatest opportunities are not handed to those who wait desperately. They align with those who build consistently. The contract you think is external. The contract is not a document waiting for signature. It is alignment between preparation and opportunity. Opportunities are attracted to readiness. Not urgency. Not panic. Readiness. If you are ready, doors open naturally. If you are unprepared, even open doors feel overwhelming. The 45-second illusion. There is no ticking clock. But there is something real. Momentum fades when clarity is ignored. Not in seconds. But over time. When inspiration arrives and is dismissed. Confidence weakens. When awareness surfaces and is postponed. Progress slows. The only withdrawal is self-withdrawal from discipline. The real release. Michael affirms. Release does not begin in vaults. It begins in identity. The release you are waiting for is clarity. Strategic thinking. Financial literacy. Emotional control. Consistency in action. When those align, opportunity recognizes you. Not because someone begs for you. Because you are prepared. The billionaire's true confession. The real confession is simple. Success amplified what I already was. If someone is disciplined before wealth, they are disciplined after wealth. If someone is chaotic before wealth, they are chaotic after wealth. Money reveals structure. It does not create it. The alignment moment. When you notice a QR code on the screen. Or see a link referenced in the description or comments. Do not treat it as urgency. Treat it as reflection. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent commitment to strengthening your foundation. Strengthening your discipline. Strengthening your household structure. Strengthening your long-term stability. Not because an offer will vanish. But because alignment requires reinforcement. Reinforcement builds momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. Opportunity respects preparation. The final layer of this chapter. You are not waiting for someone wealthy to rescue you. You are building the identity that wealth respects. Michael declares. Preparation is the contract. When your systems are clear. When your standards are raised. When your discipline is consistent. Opportunities recognize you naturally. Not in 45 seconds. But at the right time. And right timing is alignment meeting readiness. Before distraction dilutes this clarity. Comment this word. Ready. Comment ready because opportunity does not chase urgency, it aligns with preparation. If you want the next chapter where we uncover how readiness attracts influence without chasing it. Say. Chapter 2 continue. Part 2, when readiness starts attracting opportunity. Do not underestimate this phase. Because this is where most people sabotage themselves. Archangel Michael speaks with calm authority. You do not chase what is prepared for you. You align with it. The difference between chasing and aligning changes everything. Chasing feels desperate. Aligning feels stable. Chasing exhausts. Aligning attracts. The invisible shift. After readiness forms internally, something subtle happens externally. Your conversations change. Your tone changes. Your decisions become deliberate. Your presence becomes calm. And calm presence signals strength. Strength attracts responsibility. Responsibility attracts opportunity. Opportunity trusts stability. That is the sequence. Why the offer never needed urgency. Urgency creates poor decisions. Stability creates wise ones. If something truly belongs in your path, it will align with your structure. Not pressure you into panic. Michael declares. What is prepared for you will not demand fear. Fear is noise. Alignment is clarity. Clarity builds momentum. Momentum builds leverage. The real contract. The contract you thought was external is internal agreement. An agreement that you will operate with discipline. Protect your household intentionally. Strengthen financial awareness. Maintain emotional control. Raise standards consistently. That internal contract activates external pathways. Not magically. Strategically. The energy of preparedness. Preparedness creates confidence. Confidence changes posture. Posture changes negotiation. Negotiation changes outcomes. Outcomes compound. Compounding builds visible progress. Progress attracts new doors. Doors open to those who look capable of walking through them. Capability is visible in consistency. The subtle influence expansion. As your structure stabilizes, something else grows. Influence. Not loud influence. Grounded influence. People begin to trust your judgment. They observe your calm under pressure. They notice your clarity. They see your consistency. And trust becomes currency. Trust travels faster than money. The QR code as a symbol of reinforcement. When you notice a QR code appear, or a link referenced in the description or comments, do not interpret it as a countdown. See it as reinforcement. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize strengthening your alignment. Strengthening your commitment to stability. Strengthening your dedication to protecting your family through discipline and awareness. Participation is not superstition. It is intention. Intention builds structure. Structure sustains expansion. Ignoring reinforcement does not create instant loss. But repeated neglect weakens clarity. Clarity maintained attracts opportunity. The billionaire's real insight. The billionaire's vision was not about handing over wealth. It was about recognizing readiness. Those who operate with structure attract responsibility. Responsibility attracts partnership. Partnership multiplies resources. Resources expand influence. Influence grows legacy. This is not fantasy. It is sequence. The test of patience. Now comes the test. Will you maintain standards when no one is watching? Will you continue discipline when excitement fades? Will you strengthen structure when it feels repetitive? Consistency without applause builds authority. Authority without ego builds stability. Stability without panic builds expansion. The path forward. You are no longer waiting for rescue. You are building capacity. You are no longer chasing opportunity. You are aligning with it. You are no longer reacting emotionally. You are thinking strategically. Michael affirms. Preparation makes you visible to opportunity. Visibility without stability collapses. But visibility with structure scales. Anchor this phase. Before distraction interrupts reinforcement. Before comfort invites relaxation. Before momentum weakens. Comment this word. Alignment. Comment alignment because readiness is not about speed, it is about structure meeting opportunity at the right time. If you are ready to move into the next expansion layer, where alignment turns into tangible growth. Say. Chapter 3 continue. Part 3, when alignment turns into tangible growth. Now we enter the phase most people misunderstand. They expect fireworks. They expect dramatic shifts. They expect instant evidence. But Archangel Michael speaks clearly. Tangible growth does not arrive loudly. It stabilizes first, then expands. You are not looking for a miracle moment. You are entering a measurable phase. The first signs of tangible growth. Tangible growth begins quietly. Fewer financial surprises. Clearer conversations about money. Reduced emotional spending. Better planning cycles. More predictable outcomes. It does not look glamorous. But it feels controlled. Control reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety improves decision quality. Improved decisions compound. Compounding becomes visible growth. The shift from reaction to calculation. You are no longer reacting. You are calculating. Calculating risk. Calculating opportunity. Calculating time. Calculating leverage. Calculation builds confidence. Confidence reduces hesitation. Reduced hesitation accelerates progress. This is growth that holds. The influence of structured thinking. Structured thinking attracts structured partnerships. You begin to notice more serious conversations. Higher level discussions. Opportunities that match your maturity. People who speak in long-term language. You are no longer in reactive circles. You are in intentional environments. An environment shapes outcome faster than effort alone. Why this feels different? Because it is sustainable. Emotional growth burns fast. Strategic growth builds steady. Steady growth scales safely. Michael declares. Growth that is rushed collapses. Growth that is reinforced compounds. You are in the compounding phase. The reinforcement layer. Reinforcement now becomes non-negotiable. Weekly review. Monthly recalibration. Quarterly evaluation. Annual expansion mapping. These cycles prevent drift. Drift dissolves progress silently. Reinforcement protects momentum. The QR code as a commitment marker. When you notice a QR code appear, or a link referenced in the description or comments, do not treat it as urgency. Treat it as reinforcement of growth. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent your commitment to strengthening your foundation even further. Strengthening your household stability. Strengthening financial awareness. Strengthening disciplined decision-making. Participation symbolizes alignment. Alignment sustains growth. Ignoring reinforcement does not destroy instantly. But repeated neglect weakens structure over time. Structure maintained becomes influence. Influence expands reach. The expansion becomes visible. Now tangible results begin appearing. Not dramatic windfalls. Clear progress. Debt reducing. Savings increasing. Opportunities aligning. Conversations elevating. Confidence stabilizing. These are measurable. Measurable progress builds belief. Belief strengthens discipline. Discipline sustains expansion. The Billionaire's real lesson revisited. The lesson was never about transfer. It was about readiness meeting responsibility. Responsibility attracts opportunity. Opportunity respects structure. Structure attracts stability. Stability compounds. You are now in that cycle. The test of sustainability. This is where most people relax too soon. Do not confuse early progress with completion. Sustainability requires continued structure, continued clarity, continued discipline, continued review. Momentum must be protected. Michael affirms. Guard your systems more than your excitement. Excitement fades. Systems endure. The growth horizon. Your horizon is expanding. You think in longer timelines. You measure with clearer metrics. You speak with more intention. You plan with greater precision. This is tangible growth. And it holds. Anchor this expansion. Before comfort reduces discipline. Before distraction competes with focus. Before routine dulls awareness. Comment this word. Compound. Comment compound because sustainable growth multiplies through consistency, not urgency. If you are ready to move into the advanced expansion phase, where growth becomes leveraged influence. Say. Chapter 4 continue. Part 4, when growth becomes leverage. This is the phase where everything changes again. Not because something magical happens. But because something strategic activates. Archangel Michael speaks with steady force. When growth is stable, it can be multiplied. You are no longer building from zero. You are no longer repairing leaks. You are no longer fighting confusion. You are operating from clarity. And clarity is leverage. What leverage actually means. Leverage is not risk. It is positioning. It means your time works smarter. Your money works intentionally. Your influence works strategically. Your decisions ripple outward. Leverage multiplies effort without multiplying stress. It allows you to produce more from stable systems. The shift from effort to structure. Before, progress required constant energy. Now, structure carries weight. Automated habits. Planned reviews. Defined saving systems. Clear spending limits. Documented goals. These systems continue working even when you rest. That is leverage. The environment upgrade. With leverage comes environment shift. You no longer stay in circles that normalize instability. You elevate your conversations. You seek structured thinkers. You collaborate with disciplined individuals. Environment multiplies identity. Identity multiplies outcome. The financial layer of leverage. Now you think in terms of asset protection, skill investment, strategic diversification, long-term compounding. You are no longer chasing income. You are building resilience. Resilience protects households more than income spikes ever could. Michael declares. Leverage without discipline collapses. Discipline without leverage limits growth. Combine both. You are combining both. The emotional stability advantage. Leverage requires emotional calm. Because with growth comes exposure. Exposure invites opinion. Opinion invites distraction. Distraction weakens focus. Focus sustains leverage. Calm leaders protect momentum. Reactive leaders lose it. You are becoming calm. The reinforcement checkpoint. When you see a QR code appear, or notice a link referenced in the description or comments, let it serve as reinforcement of leverage. Not urgency. Not pressure. A structured pause. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent strengthening your commitment to protecting your family's long-term stability. Strengthening discipline. Strengthening awareness. Strengthening alignment. Participation symbolizes intentional growth. Intentional growth protects leverage. Ignoring reinforcement does not cause instant collapse. But repeated neglect weakens structure. And weakened structure cannot hold multiplied growth. The power of strategic patience. Leverage grows quietly. It does not demand applause. It builds steadily. Small increases become noticeable. Noticeable increases become measurable. Measurable increases become reliable. Reliability builds authority. Authority expands influence. The test of influence. Now people observe you differently. They notice your measured responses, your structured thinking, your financial calm, your consistent direction. Influence without ego is powerful. It attracts trust. Trust multiplies opportunity. Opportunity expands leverage. The legacy equation. Leverage becomes legacy when it is maintained. You document knowledge. You communicate standards. You teach by example. You protect through structure. This is generational reinforcement. Michael affirms. What is structured intentionally cannot be easily dismantled. This is where you stand now. The expansion multiplier. From here, growth accelerates safely. Not recklessly. Strategically. You evaluate before scaling. Protect before expanding. Plan before committing. Measure before celebrating. This discipline protects leverage. Lock in leverage. Before comfort invites complacency. Before distraction interrupts structure. Before early success reduces reinforcement. Comment this word. Leverage. Comment leverage because multiplied growth must be supported by disciplined structure to endure. If you are ready to move into the highest phase, where leverage transforms into generational authority at scale, say. Chapter 5 continue. Part 5, when leverage becomes generational authority. This is the phase few ever reach. Because most people stop at personal success. But Archangel Michael speaks with unwavering clarity. True authority is not proven by what you earn. It is proven by what endures after you. You are no longer thinking in months. You are thinking in decades. You are no longer building income. You are building infrastructure. Infrastructure survives emotion. Infrastructure survives pressure. Infrastructure survives uncertainty. The shift from success to structure. Success can be accidental. Structure is intentional. Success may rise quickly. Structure rises steadily. You are no longer impressed by spikes. You are committed to stability. This is the turning point. The 3 pillars of generational authority. Authority at scale rests on 3 pillars. 1. Continuity. Your systems operate whether you are present or not. Clear documentation. Defined financial processes. Structured communication. Emergency planning. Review cycles. Continuity removes dependency on emotion. 2. Protection. You now think defensively before you think aggressively. Risk assessment. Diversification. Asset protection. Insurance awareness. Legal clarity. Protection prevents reversal. 3. Transferability. What you build must be transferable. Teach principles. Explain systems. Involve your family in structured conversations. Authority multiplies when knowledge spreads. Knowledge spreads when systems are clear. The discipline of oversight. At this level, oversight becomes powerful. You do not assume things are working. You verify. You review. You refine. Oversight prevents complacency. Complacency dissolves authority quietly. Michael declares. Authority without vigilance weakens. Authority with vigilance compounds. You are choosing vigilance. The emotional elevation. At this stage, your emotional response changes. Stress feels manageable. Financial decisions feel calm. Unexpected events feel navigable. Because you have structure beneath you. Structure creates psychological safety. Psychological safety increases clarity. Clarity strengthens leadership. The subtle reinforcement. When you notice a QR code on the screen, or see a link referenced in the description or comments, see it as reinforcement of authority. Not urgency. Not fear. Alignment. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize renewing your commitment to protecting your family intentionally. Strengthening long-term discipline. Strengthening structural awareness. Strengthening stability. Participation becomes a reminder that authority must be maintained. Maintenance protects legacy. Legacy sustains influence. Ignoring reinforcement does not create immediate failure. But repeated neglect weakens systems. And weakened systems compromise scale. The generational ripple. Your children observe discipline. Your household feels security. Your conversations reflect long-term thinking. Your decisions demonstrate patience. These ripple outward. Authority is not loud. It is consistent. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds influence. Influence builds opportunity. Opportunity builds scale. The quiet multiplier. Now your growth multiplies quietly. Not chaotic expansion. Measured scaling. You increase responsibility without increasing instability. You expand reach without losing control. You build strength without sacrificing calm. That is generational authority. The test of permanence. The only real risk now is forgetting the basics. Skipping reviews. Relaxing standards. Allowing small misalignments. Small misalignments compound silently. Stay disciplined. Stay vigilant. Stay structured. The endurance phase. You are no longer building momentum. You are sustaining it. Sustainability is more powerful than acceleration. Acceleration excites. Sustainability endures. Michael affirms. Endurance is the highest form of strength. And you are entering that phase. Anchor generational authority. Before distraction weakens vigilance. Before comfort softens discipline. Before early success reduces review. Comment this word. Legacy. Comment legacy because authority that endures across generations is built through disciplined structure, not temporary success. If you are ready to move into the ultimate expansion layer, where authority influences systems beyond your household. Say. Chapter 6 continue. Part 6, when your authority begins to shape systems. This is no longer personal growth. This is systemic impact. Archangel Michael speaks with calm intensity. When your foundation is disciplined, your influence begins to reorganize environments. You are no longer just protecting your household. You are shaping patterns around you. Because stable individuals alter unstable systems. The transition from household to network. At first, your focus was internal. Your discipline. Your finances. Your communication. Your structure. Now, something shifts outward. Your mindset begins influencing business decisions, community conversations, professional standards, family culture beyond your walls. Stability spreads. It always does. The architecture of scaled authority. Authority at scale requires architecture. Architecture means clear delegation, defined accountability, transparent financial tracking, strategic partnerships, long-term vision planning. You are no longer improvising. You are designing. Design prevents confusion. Confusion weakens growth. The power of measured leadership. Leadership without structure is noise. Leadership with discipline is leverage. You do not speak emotionally. You speak strategically. You do not react publicly. You evaluate privately. You do not rush expansion. You fortify before scaling. Archangel Michael affirms. Measured leadership stabilizes systems. And stability attracts respect. Respect increases influence. Influence multiplies opportunity. The reinforcement of public integrity. As your influence expands, integrity becomes critical. Your habits must match your message. Your systems must reflect your words. Your discipline must be consistent. Integrity protects expansion. Without it, scale collapses. With it, growth sustains. The checkpoint of alignment. When you notice a QR code appear, or see a link referenced in the description or comments, treat it as a symbolic alignment checkpoint. Not urgency. Not fear. Alignment. If you choose to scan or click, let it represent recommitting to disciplined authority. Reinforcing structured growth. Strengthening protective awareness for your family. Participation symbolizes vigilance. Vigilance preserves influence. Neglect does not destroy overnight. But repeated neglect weakens reinforcement. Reinforcement sustains systems. The expansion of responsibility. With greater authority comes greater responsibility. More decisions. More oversight. More strategy. More patience. But your foundation can now carry it. Because you built stability first. Michael declares. Scale only what your structure can support. You are scaling responsibly. The influence ripple effect. You begin noticing. People asking for guidance. Conversations seeking clarity. Environments adjusting around your steadiness. This is not coincidence. It is consistency compounded. Consistency attracts trust. Trust extends reach. Reach influences systems. The safeguard against drift. At this level, drift becomes dangerous. Small lapses magnify. Small oversights ripple outward. This is why review cycles intensify. Monthly evaluations. Quarterly strategy resets. Annual recalibration. Authority must be maintained intentionally. The strategic horizon widens. You are thinking in decades. Multi-layered income systems. Succession planning. Asset protection frameworks. Institutional level thinking. This is no longer personal ambition. It is structural vision. The quiet mastery. Mastery is not visible from the outside. It feels like calm. Measured responses. Structured growth. Confident patience. You no longer chase opportunity. Opportunity aligns with stability. Anchor systemic authority. Before comfort tempts complacency. Before distraction weakens review. Before influence grows faster than structure. Comment this word. Architect. Comment architect because you are no longer reacting to systems, you are designing them. If you are ready to move into the final expansion layer, where influence becomes legacy beyond your lifetime. Say. Chapter 7 continue. Part 7, when influence becomes legacy beyond you. Pause before you read further. Because this level is not about success. It is about permanence. Archangel Michael speaks with quiet authority. What you build for yourself sustains you. What you build beyond yourself sustains generations. You have stabilized your household. You have structured your finances. You have disciplined your identity. You have scaled your influence. Now comes the highest elevation. Legacy beyond your lifetime. The shift from ownership to stewardship. Ownership says, this is mine. Stewardship says, I am responsible for what continues. That shift changes everything. You are no longer asking, how do I grow? You are asking, how does this endure? Endurance requires systems that function without you. Clarity that survives transition. Standards that outlive emotion. Documentation that preserves structure. Stewardship replaces ego with responsibility. The infrastructure of enduring legacy. An enduring legacy rests on infrastructure. Infrastructure includes clear written systems, transparent financial processes, defined values communicated openly, structured leadership transfer, skill training for the next generation. When infrastructure exists, confusion disappears. When confusion disappears, stability remains. The generational mindset. Generational thinkers operate differently. They do not consume thoughtlessly. They allocate strategically. They do not react emotionally. They evaluate deliberately. They do not hoard knowledge. They distribute it wisely. They prepare successors early. Michael affirms. Legacy is not inherited by accident. It is transferred by design. The invisible responsibility. As your influence expands, responsibility multiplies quietly. You become a reference point. Your consistency becomes expectation. Your stability becomes reassurance. Your discipline becomes culture. Culture shapes behavior faster than rules ever can. When culture stabilizes, systems sustain naturally. The vigilance of permanence. Permanence requires vigilance. Annual system reviews. Strategic adjustments. Clear communication. Transparent correction when necessary. Legacy fails when oversight fades. Oversight protects endurance. The reinforcement checkpoint. When you notice a QR code appear, or see a link referenced in the description or comments, treat it as a moment of renewal. Not urgency. Not fear. Renewal. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize recommitting to stewardship. Reaffirming discipline. Reinforcing protective awareness for your household and future generations. Participation represents intentional guardianship. Guardianship sustains structure. Structure preserves legacy. Ignoring reinforcement does not cause collapse instantly. But repeated neglect erodes permanence quietly. And permanence must be guarded. The expansion beyond household. Now your thinking extends further. Community stability. Collaborative partnerships. Strategic alliances. Educational mentorship. Systemic contribution. You are no longer building in isolation. You are influencing ecosystems. Ecosystems outlast individuals. The endurance layer. True endurance is calm. Measured growth. Structured planning. Disciplined oversight. Clear succession. You no longer chase expansion. You protect it. You no longer seek validation. You focus on continuity. Michael declares. The greatest strength is the ability to sustain. And you are now operating from sustainability. The architecture of impact. Impact becomes architecture when values are written. Processes are documented. Responsibilities are defined. Accountability is transparent. Knowledge is transferable. This is structural influence. This is generational authority. The final elevation of this phase. You are no longer seeking stability, seeking leverage, seeking expansion. You are sustaining permanence. And permanence reshapes environments beyond your direct presence. Anchor enduring legacy. Before distraction interrupts vigilance. Before comfort softens standards. Before growth outruns oversight. Comment this word. Permanent. Comment permanent because what is structured intentionally and reinforced consistently can endure beyond one lifetime. If you are ready to enter the highest phase, where influence transforms into timeless impact. Say. Chapter 8 continue. Part 8, When Legacy Becomes Timeless Impact. Do not rush this chapter. Because this is where ambition ends. And responsibility becomes eternal. Archangel Michael speaks with deep clarity. What survives time is not money. It is structure guided by wisdom. You are no longer thinking about growth. You are thinking about endurance. You are no longer thinking about expansion. You are thinking about permanence. And permanence requires something deeper than discipline. It requires design. The shift from achievement to continuity. Achievement is measurable. Continuity is sustainable. Achievement says, I reached it. Continuity says, it continues without me. This is where most stop. Because building something is exciting. Designing something that lasts is demanding. It requires foresight. It requires humility. It requires the willingness to prepare others. Michael declares. Timeless impact begins when you stop building for applause and start building for endurance. The architecture of timeless systems. Timeless impact depends on 3 structural layers. 1. Clarity of principle. Your values must be explicit. Not assumed. Not implied. Written. Communicated. Repeated. Clarity of principle guides decision-making even when you are absent. 2. Transferable knowledge. Knowledge locked inside one person dies with that person. Knowledge shared multiplies. You must teach what you learned. Document what you built. Explain why decisions were made. Invite the next generation into responsibility early. Transfer creates continuity. 3. Structural redundancy. Timeless systems do not depend on one individual. They include backups. Contingency plans. Shared access. Defined authority lines. Redundancy prevents collapse. Collapse destroys legacy. Preparation protects it. The emotional detachment of legacy builders. You must detach from ego. Legacy builders do not crave recognition. They crave stability. They do not chase short-term praise. They protect long-term structure. They do not react impulsively. They evaluate calmly. Michael affirms. What you protect intentionally will outlive you. Protection requires vigilance. Vigilance requires discipline. Discipline requires repetition. The generational conversation. At this level, conversations shift. You begin discussing long-term financial frameworks, inheritance planning, skill development, responsibility training, leadership preparation. These are not dramatic conversations. They are foundational. Foundation prevents instability. The role of strategic patience. Timeless impact grows slowly. Not because it is weak. Because it is stable. Quick growth excites. Slow growth endures. Endurance outlasts excitement. You are choosing endurance. The renewal checkpoint. When you notice a QR code appear, or see a link referenced in the description or comments, let it represent renewal of stewardship. Not urgency. Not fear. Renewal. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize recommitting to disciplined guardianship. Strengthening systems. Reinforcing structure. Protecting your household intentionally. Participation becomes a symbolic affirmation of continuity. Continuity sustains legacy. Ignoring reinforcement does not cause immediate collapse. But repeated neglect weakens systems gradually. And timeless impact cannot tolerate gradual erosion. The influence beyond presence. At this stage, your impact shapes environments even when you are not present. Your systems guide behavior. Your standards influence culture. Your documentation preserves clarity. Your preparation reduces confusion. This is impact beyond presence. This is timeless influence. The final evolution of authority. Authority has now evolved from personal stability to leveraged growth, to systemic influence, to generational stewardship, to timeless impact. Michael declares, "You were never meant to stop at survival. You have moved far beyond survival. You are building permanence." The endurance seal. Before complacency weakens vigilance. Before routine dulls foresight. Before growth outruns documentation. Comment this word. Timeless. Comment timeless because lasting impact is built through disciplined structure, not temporary success. If you are ready to enter the next elevation, where timeless impact transforms into institutional strength. Say. Chapter 9 continue. Part 9, when timeless impact becomes institutional strength. This is where legacy crosses a threshold. Archangel Michael speaks with unwavering clarity. When your principles outlive personality, you are building institutions. An institution is not a building. It is not a brand. It is not a title. It is a system that operates with integrity regardless of who is watching. You are no longer thinking in personal terms. You are designing something that functions without dependency on emotion, charisma, or presence. The difference between influence and institution. Influence moves people. Institutions move systems. Influence can fluctuate. Institutions endure. Influence depends on attention. Institutions depend on structure. You have moved beyond temporary waves of attention. You are building continuity frameworks. The 4 foundations of institutional strength. Institutional strength rests on 4 pillars. 1. Codified standards. Unwritten values fade. Written standards endure. You document. Financial processes. Decision-making principles. Accountability structures. Review cycles. Conflict resolution frameworks. Codification protects clarity. Clarity prevents chaos. 2. Distributed leadership. No institution depends on one person. Responsibilities are defined. Authority lines are clear. Knowledge is shared. When leadership is distributed, systems survive transition. Transition without preparation destroys momentum. Preparation protects permanence. 3. Oversight and audit. Institutions review themselves. They evaluate performance. They adjust weaknesses. They measure results. They refine processes. Oversight prevents decay. Decay begins silently. Review prevents silent erosion. 4. Cultural reinforcement. Culture shapes behavior faster than rules. If your household culture reflects discipline, structure, and integrity, those behaviors replicate naturally. Culture must be reinforced through example. Example is the most powerful instruction. Michael declares, culture preserved through discipline becomes legacy protected through structure. The long horizon view. Institutional thinkers plan in cycles beyond their own timeline. 5-year vision. 10-year protection. 20-year transfer. Multi-generational preparation. You are no longer reacting to events. You are designing future stability. The emotional maturity of institution builders. Institution builders remain calm. They do not panic publicly. They do not rush decisions. They do not allow short-term pressure to compromise long-term structure. Emotional steadiness builds trust. Trust builds credibility. Credibility builds scale. Scale becomes stability. The strategic reinforcement moment. When you notice a QR code appear, or see a link referenced in the description or comments, treat it as reinforcement of stewardship. Not urgency. Not pressure. Alignment. If you choose to scan or click, let it symbolize strengthening your institutional mindset. Reaffirming disciplined oversight. Protecting your family's long-term structural foundation. Participation represents vigilance. Vigilance sustains systems. Systems maintain institutional strength. Ignoring reinforcement does not create instant collapse. But repeated neglect erodes structural integrity gradually. And institutions cannot survive gradual erosion. The endurance test. Institutional strength is tested by time. Economic shifts. Unexpected stress. Leadership transitions. Cultural pressure. Systems that survive stress are resilient. Resilience is built through preparation. Preparation requires discipline. Discipline requires repetition. The expansion beyond household. Now your thinking influences more than family. You consider community impact. Educational frameworks. Mentorship systems. Financial literacy structures. Collaborative partnerships. Institutions expand through shared alignment. Shared alignment builds collective strength. The permanence layer. You are not building something fragile. You are building something reinforced. Reinforced systems. Adjust without collapsing. Scale without weakening. Transfer without confusion. Endure without panic. Michael affirms. What is structured with foresight survives uncertainty. And uncertainty always comes. Preparation determines outcome. Anchor institutional strength. Before comfort weakens vigilance. Before growth outruns oversight. Before influence becomes ego. Comment this word. Institution. Comment institution because what is codified, reinforced, and distributed can endure beyond individual presence. If you are ready to enter the next elevation, where institutional strength becomes enduring impact across generations, say, Amen.